led by Justin, with help from some of their advocate friends, defeated 69 of those 74 bills. So I'm advocating for my own campaign, but it's such an honor to be on the ballot with Senate Democrats like Senator Alfond, Senator Valentino, Senator Boyle, Senator Millett, Senator Haskell, who are all here tonight. We need to get them reelected and bring Democrats to join them in the majority in the legislature. I also want to mention and thank Representative Moonen and Councilor Hink, who are here tonight representing our local offices in this very district. And before I get started, I also want to recognize my staff, because we have run a campaign that no one thought we could run. And we are going to win because of people like Katie Mae Simpson, my campaign manager. And Sarah Woodard and Chad Hunter, who organized this party. There's a big team here tonight, and I just, the staff, candidates often get the credit for running good or bad campaigns. Our campaign, what is good about our campaign is the strength of our staff and our team, and it humbles me. So, yes, around So, Pet Sematary was filmed in my hometown. So, Stephen King has been one of my heroes since I was a kid. And when I read On Writing, I thought that having a dark and stormy night was a cliche you were supposed to avoid.
Here we are.
But here we are. And thank you. And thank you for your generous support, your wonderful op-ed in the Bangor Daily News. I deeply appreciate it. I grew up in the town of Hancock, Maine. My father's a carpenter. And we struggled when I was a kid. I grew up without electricity or running water until I was in the 5th grade. And what I remember about the 5th grade is getting electricity and running water. But what my mother recently shared with me is that Thanksgiving, she and my father realized they had about $25 left in the checking account and no work coming in to his carpentry business. So she went to work in the Christmas wreath factory in Ellsworth to bridge the gap between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then they decided she needed to work full-time. She went to work at the local greenhouse, and that's when we could afford electricity and running water. So not only did I wait tables, but I worked retail. I was a Subway sandwich artist working through high school and college. But I was fortunate. I had good public schools, strong community supports along the way. And I graduated from Middlebury College in 1997, the year that Republican Susan Collins began in the United States Senate. She's in her 18th year, and a lot has happened in the last 18 years. We've experienced an economic crisis, an environmental crisis, and a constitutional crisis that threaten the future of our children and our grandchildren. I'm running to create pathways of economic opportunity for young people just like I was, just like Stephen was. Because today's young people who are graduating from college are facing record levels of student debt. And I had student loans, significant student loans, but nowhere near what the next generation is facing. And that's because of decisions by Republicans in Washington who have allowed interest rates to rise, who have failed to adequately invest in higher education, who have favored the big banks over working families. The unemployment for the class of 2013 is in the double digits. We need to create jobs. Jobs in the economy are perhaps the #1 issue in this election. We need to invest in infrastructure, in roads and bridges, and infrastructure for the future and technology. And we can build a future that advances the economy and protects the environment by investing in renewables, in solar, in properly sited wind, in geothermal, in tidal. We can build a future, we can confront climate change which is one of the greatest threats facing our state, our nation, and our planet. These are big challenges, confronting the economy, fixing the economy, creating jobs, taking on climate change in a meaningful, bold, and visionary way. But I like a tough challenge. I remember in 2012, when we were deciding whether or not to move forward for marriage equality. Now, my husband, who's somewhere in the back, and I had made a decision, we'd made a vow not to marry until our friends and family members could marry. And so I had a vested interest in moving forward in 2012. But I remember what people said then. They said, it's too soon. You just lost in 2009. You will never win, they said. And they were wrong. They were wrong because it's never too soon. Woo! It's never too soon for full equality under the law. And they were wrong because our coalition built an extraordinary grassroots campaign talking friend to friend, neighbor to neighbor, all across the state. And that is how we will win this race.
That's right. Yes.
There are three things I want all of you to remember about our path to victory. The first is that our target voter is a Barack Obama voter, a Democrat or a liberal-leaning independent who voted for Barack Obama, and here in Portland, Shelley Pingree, and Senator Alfond, and Susan Collins in 2008. That's our target voter. If we win all the Barack Obama voters who turn out in 2014, I will be the next United States Senator. The second thing I want you to remember is $33,000. That's what it costs us right now to be up on television. And we estimate, because of the strength of our fundraising that allowed us to outraise Susan Collins in the first quarter of this race, that has brought us to $1.3 million to date. Because of the strength of our fundraising, we are going up on television this week, and with your help, we have a plan to stay up until Election Day. And that will solve our biggest problem in this race, which is name recognition. So 65% of Mainers haven't heard of me yet, but they will. And what we know is among Mainers who've heard of me, our support is extraordinary. We're neck and neck with Susan Collins. So the third thing I want you to remember is 312,000 votes. That's how many votes we estimate we need to win this year. And Maine is like one large small town where grassroots organizing still works. Friend to friend, neighbor to neighbor. We can reach those 312,000 votes. We're starting on Sunday I'm walking, from Holton to Kittery through 63 towns over 350 miles to represent what democracy should look like. This is really a test case about the power of grassroots, about the power of real people to triumph over corporate PACs and big money in our politics. So here's what I need from you. There are three things I need from you. The first, I would like your vote. And that sounds obvious. Each of you paid money to be here. But it's really important because of that target voter. I'm not taking any votes for granted. If I have your vote, the next thing I'd like is the vote of your friends. Think about 5 friends. 5 friends in your life who voted for Barack Obama and Shelley Pingree and Susan Collins in 2008. And I'd like you to have a conversation with those friends. Engage with them on the issues that Stephen mentioned, the differences between us. Perhaps they care about civil liberties. They're concerned about measures like the Patriot Act and NSA spying, which I've spent the last decade seeking to establish checks and balances. Have those conversations. Let them know that Susan voted time and time again to renew the Patriot Act, and she has defended NSA spying and the growth of the surveillance industrial complex. Perhaps your friends care about women's rights and reproductive freedom, particularly in the wake of the Hobby Lobby case. You know, 2 years ago I was with a coalition for Maine women in the Maine Choice Coalition. You remember the House, the Republicans, voted to pass H.R. 1 to defund Planned Parenthood. And Susan voted with the Republicans for H.R. 1 to defund Planned Parenthood. Fortunately, the Democrats, joined by Olympia, blocked it, but Susan voted for it. You can't be pro-choice and vote to defund Planned Parenthood. Or maybe your friends care about control of the Senate and the future of the Supreme Court. And I will say that the first vote that Susan will cast will be for Mitch McConnell as Majority Leader, or, God forbid, Ted Cruz.
Oh, God.
She's just given a $5,000 PAC donation to Bruce Poliquin. She was up on a stage with Governor LePage a few weeks ago. She has shown who she supports. And control of the Senate and the future of the Supreme Court in the last 2 years of the Obama presidency will mean a great deal to the future of our children and our grandchildren. So have those conversations. Talk to your 5 friends. Talk to them about the future of the state and the country. And you can be part of this movement to send a Democrat to the United States Senate, to send me to the United States Senate this year. Last but not least, and this is important too, I'd like your support. If you can, on your way out, join our email list. Forward those emails to your friends. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Help expand our social media presence. Or get a bumper sticker and put it on your car now as a public demonstration of your support for our campaign. Sign up to volunteer. Walk with me for 1 mile or 5 on the walk across Maine. Or help in the Portland office with phone banking or canvassing. Your support will make the difference in this race. And your financial support is extraordinarily important. I said we've raised $1.3 million. Our average contribution to date, and it changes every quarter, but our average contribution is $60. And our median contribution is $6. Half of our contributions are less than $6. So your support, your financial support, will make the difference to allow us to be on television, to allow us to run this grassroots campaign. So all of you paid to come here tonight, but maybe on your way out the door, you can give an extra $5. Maybe you are like a woman I met who's on Social Security alone who told me that sometimes that check doesn't reach to the end of the month and she has to go to the food pantry. But she came to a smaller house party, not in the raid, and she was moved, and she went out to her car and she got her checkbook and she came back and she said, this is what I can do, and she wrote a $5 check. Or maybe you can give another $100 tonight, or $500, or maybe you can give the maximum of $2,600. And it is wrong that the maximum for an individual is less than the maximum for a corporation.
Yeah.
But we have an opportunity to show that this grassroots movement can stand up against big money in politics, that we can make change, that we can be the change we wish to see in Maine, in Washington, and across the country. So I want to thank you. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for the support, Senator Alfond, Stephen King. I'm deeply grateful for your joining us on this journey. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you. Thank you.